today's show co-anchor, Meredith Vieira. Meredith? Here's the award. First of all, it's my honor to be here. It's wonderful to be sharing lunch with you folks and also handing out this first award. I did become involved with the National Down Syndrome Society about 12 months ago, but I was first introduced to the Down syndrome community through my son Gabe, and that was in June of 2007. I actually wrote a blog about it, and it's really about the folks that are receiving this first award. So if you don't mind indulging me a little bit, I want to read to you what I wrote. Gabe's school, Gabe goes to Fieldston in the Bronx. He requires students to perform community service. And he had heard about this program, Camp PALS, and he applied to be a counselor. I didn't know anything about Camp PALS at the time, but I found out that it's a one-week sleepover camp for teenagers with Down syndrome. And in the days leading up to Gabe's departure for this camp in Pennsylvania, he was definitely very anxious. It's something he had never done before, and he didn't know what to expect. Each counselor, as it turns out, is assigned to one camper, and Gabe's pal was Christopher. He was one of 41 campers. A few days after Gabe arrived, he called us sounding very, very tired. And he explained that as a pal, he was responsible for Christopher's well-being 24/7, and Chris at the time, I believe, was 20 years old. During the day, there were lots of activities at the camp, like there would be at any camp: arts and crafts, sports, trips to the beach, the mall, etc. And then the campers had their lights out at 9:30 p.m. And then around 10, the counselors, most of them college students, would gather to discuss the day, what had gone well and often what had not gone so well, and to plan for the next day. The counselors also took turns doing night duty, which is why I think Gabe was so tired when he called us. I think it was right after that. And I asked Gabe on the phone if he thought it was just too much for him, and without missing a beat, he said, "No, I love it," which is a great thing when you hear that from a teenager, that they love something. Saturday, there was a graduation ceremony, and Gabe asked us to come, and of course we did. It's for the campers and their families, and each of the 41 campers received a certificate from the best smiler, that was one of them, to the most helpful. And Christopher was named the coolest camper, which made Gabe very, very proud. And Chris was he's bragging, he was big thing. After the awards were handed out, the campers, counselors, and family members shared their thoughts on the week, and many of the parents actually thanked the counselors for giving their children such a wonderful experience, what it had meant to their children that they couldn't begin to put into words. And the counselors were equally grateful to have spent time with the campers. I kept waiting for Gabe to stand up, and say something, and he did not. And I worried that maybe the experience might have been lost on him, or he didn't quite know what to say. So as we were putting his bags in the car, getting ready to leave, I noticed that he continued to be very quiet, almost as if he were processing the week, really trying to put, through his head what he had just experienced over 7 days. Then he said to Richard, my husband, and me, when I first got here, it was so easy to tell the difference between them and us. But by the end, I couldn't distinguish between the campers and the counselors. We were all the same. What had started out as a school requirement just to get some hours for community service ended up as a life-changing experience for Gabe. So I am forever grateful to Camp PALS for what it did to my son. And in terms of the empathy that we have towards each other, I don't know that he could have gotten more of a learning lesson than he did in those 7 days. So as you can tell, I am a big fan of Camp PALS and the motivated young people who have made the camp possible for the past 5 years. And they've had some rough years. We're all going through tough times with the economy, and at one point we weren't sure if they were even going to come back, but they have. And when the Riggio family learned about Camp PALS, they were immediately inspired and decided to support the efforts of the camp. So I'm pleased to announce that the Riggio family has chosen to make a gift to Camp PALS that will send 30 young adults to Camp PALS for the summer of 2009. That's 30 young people whose lives will be changed immensely. And one of them will have Gabe as his counselor, as his pal, so I'm really excited about that. And really, truthfully, these 30 adults otherwise could not attend camp, and now they're going to be able to participate, and it means so much. So it is a distinct honor, and it is a personal pleasure to present the first award today to Camp PALS Please join me in welcoming the founders of Camp PALS, Jason Toff, Jenny Newbury, Josh Stein, to the stage.
Hi everyone. Wow. Let me start just by saying thank you on behalf of everyone at Camp PALS, to the NDSS for honoring us, especially to the Regios for their incredibly generous donation. As Meredith said, that's going to help 30 campers come to Camp PALS this year, which is huge for us. We also want to thank specifically Meredith, who's been a champion of Camp PALS, and she's actually the reason we're here today, because she introduced us to Sarah Schleicher, and as a result of talking to Sarah in the past few months, that's the reason we're here. And on that note, a huge thanks to Sarah, to Pam, to Kathy and Ricky from the NDSS, who have become some of the most outspoken supporters of Camp PALS. And I have one last person to thank. It's a person who's probably more responsible for the existence of Camp PALS than anyone. She's an incredibly kind, self-motivated, inspiring woman, and as of late has become incredibly good at sending Gmails, as she calls it, and that's my Aunt Karen. So Karen, if you could just stand up.
I'm often asked how a pair of 17-year-olds and a 15-year-old could start a program like Camp PALS, and I have to start with my parents, and Jason's parents and Jenny's parents. The 6 of you sitting here today probably are the most direct reason why Camp PALS exists, but I'd say your interplay far exceeds those events, so really thank you for really guiding us. Through your actions, you've shown us how to live justly. I think we all hope to grow into the people you are and really reflect the truths you embody, so really thank you. But Camp PALS would have never grown, would have never thrived without all the rest of you sitting here today, seriously. Again, a simple truth, evident on many levels. We would not be here today if you were not. This is a community that believed in that a group of teenagers can make a difference and challenged us to do so. This is a community that has time and again thrown its reputation and its resources behind us. This is a community that fights injustices and finds creative solutions. And thankfully, this is a community that has allowed us to play a small part in that fight. For all these reasons, I'll be forever thankful.
While there are only 3 of us up here, I want you to know that we represent a community of hundreds of campers, counselors, parents, friends, and sponsors. It is difficult to quantify what Camp PALS means to each of us as individuals, but we took the opportunity recently to ask campers, counselors, and parents why they continue to return to Camp PALS. I know for my brother, Jason, Camp PALS is now a household word and is used to describe every inclusive activity he participates in, regardless of who sponsors it. Other families have shared that they knew Camp PALS was a big deal when their child began a countdown to Camp PALS in January and then began to pack about a month before Camp PALS was supposed to begin. Parents claim to see changes in mood, verbal skills, and independence in their child from the Camp PALS experience. Every year, counselors leave their jobs, internships, and summer vacations to come volunteer with us for a week. Why? Some counselors say they find Camp PALS refreshing, providing them with a new perspective on life. Others simply claim it is the best week of their summer, and they wouldn't dream of missing it. It is for these people, the counselor who begins every job interview by stating that they need a week off in June, the parent who never gets a break but can rest for a week knowing their child is safe at camp with us, and the camper that stands up at the closing ceremony just to thank everyone who made it possible for them to attend Camp PALS. It is on behalf of these people that I would like to thank you for this recognition and the support we've received from the NDSS community and all of you. Thank you very much.